Welcome to another episode of Off the Record with the Tacoma Ledger. Would our guests like to introduce themselves?
I guess I'll start. I'm Michaela Allosada. I am UWT's campus organizer, and I am also Husky Volunteers volunteer coordinator, and I'm happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Susan Wagshul-Golden, and I'm the Director of Emergency Preparedness and Campus Safety. And I've been part of the UW family now. It's 18 years and 7 months, and enjoy the privilege of being here.
Great to have you, and we appreciate you guys making the time for us. With that, take it away, Michaela.
Y'all know me already, thank God. So today we're going to be talking about an issue that has been impacting both our local community, our Washington community, and honestly the country as a whole. We're going to be talking about ICE today. So just to kind of kick us off, there's been a lot of anti-ICE protests in Tacoma recently. The most recent protest that I'm aware of occurred yesterday, which was in Tollefson Plaza across from the Art Museum. Some of my coworkers actually sent me some photos. It was very nice of them. And then another protest occurred this week during a Tacoma City Council meeting. This meeting had to essentially be, they had to say, okay, we're going to take a recess because the protesters were very loud, and I'm using a quote around this, disruptive, because they were advocating for revoking the business license for the Northwest Detention Center, which is in the Port of Tacoma, and called on the council to give statements that would tell ICE agents essentially to get out of our city. This protest was led by the Pierce County Immigration Alliance. They've argued that a business license can be revoked if this business is breaking the law, but it is important to note that federal law does have limits on this. I'd like to get y'all's thoughts kind of on the argument that we can revoke their business license, because I think it's a really interesting one.
Yeah, I'd say that's really the city's decision on that and how they navigate it, especially with federal law. And I'm not familiar with what those specifics are. But I would say this isn't the first time that conversation has come out since I've been here in Tacoma, and when the Northwest Detention Center was established earlier on. There's been struggles just to see it through from our campus and knowing it's there. And then there's the other part of where families that are sent there to that processing area, prison, they can go see their family members. So we've heard that too in the community. So I think here there needs to be inspections. What are the regulations? And is that private agency, because it's not run by the federal government, it's run by a private company, are they in compliance? And I think that's where the city can lean on as far as public health facilities and how those human beings are being cared for.
No, and I really do agree on the fact that there needs to be inspections that happen at the detention center, because I want to echo a story that I've heard from a migrant that's currently in detention right now. It's Kuya G. He's a Filipino migrant. His name is Greg Sorio, and he's been in the U.S. for quite a while, and he was detained by ICE a couple months ago. And it was a recent story. It was a recent story that was propped up by a lot of the organizations we have here. And essentially his story was a story of neglect and medical violence that the GEO group committed, and that he was complaining of abdominal pain. He was complaining of just a host of medical issues, and ICE and the GEO group did not address his needs until the point that he was writhing in pain, and they had to take him to the hospital up the hill, St. Joe's. And the doctors had diagnosed him with other stuff such as ulcerative colitis, which could lead to cancer, and they had to amputate his toe because of a bone infection, all of which were preventable. So I do agree that there are existing issues happening in the detention center that need to be addressed, and I believe that should be where our local leaders should be looking at. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of complexity with federal law, state law, and local law that blurs the lines between whether the city can or can't revoke the business license. But there has to be a line where our leaders say that we're here to protect you. Even though there are limits to what we can do, we're doing all we can.
And be transparent about it.
Mm-hmm.
right? And share that and be conscious of how our community is impacted, regardless if we have loved ones there or not. As a community, we feel that pain.
UW Center for Human Rights has also run several reports on human rights violations within the Northwest Detention Center. I'm not going to go super in-depth on them, but they've been mentioned at least in 3 reports that I'm aware of. Something that Tacoma has done, this was back in February of last year, which they adopted Resolution 41627, which aligns city policy with Washington state law, specifically RCW 4317-425, which limits local law enforcement cooperation with agencies like ICE. It prevents them from accessing data, essentially getting help from getting like criminal records and stuff like that. What are other things we think the city either should or can do, if anything?
I think what the city's doing right now, engaging the community, looking at making sure that their policies are in alignment with both state and federal laws, and also as citizens here, how we can help raise those voices of concern in a way that's constructive and effective. I think that those opportunities are there. Having the alignment is also within Keep the Washington Working Act, which is a federal law that was in 2019 that says about resources that cannot be shared and folks not being prevented based on their citizenship, their religion, their race. It goes very specific. And I think helping educate through their community outreach of how are these supporting our communities.
I believe the city is doing a lot of good work in listening to the community, to the organizations, especially as far as I'm aware, they did have a meeting with the PCIA, the Pierce County Immigration Alliance, regarding a resolution denouncing ICE and a slew of other things that they could be doing to protect the community. And of course, it's a conversation that needs to happen back and forth between the city and the community. I think the city is listening. I think that they need to listen more. They need to gauge the community, because as far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong about this, it is the community reaching out to the city. I think it should be the other way. I feel like the city government, the local leaders we have, should be reaching out into the community and putting their presence known that, hey, we're here to protect you. How can we best serve you? I think that's what they need to be doing. And I think they're taking steps toward that, but I do think more steps and better steps can be made.
Here's a follow-up question. What do we think the university can do? And both Tacoma's campus and Seattle's campus, because I'm going to get into some stuff that Seattle's campus has been doing a little bit later.
So I think what I am aware of is that the University of Washington as a whole has been working in coalition and reaching out to all our partners. We are a public institution, so we do fall under those same laws and regulations as far as protecting rights, not sharing it, very specific guidelines and protocols. And that's what the university has put on their websites to kind of help folks navigate if there should be any type of interaction. As part of voicing, being on different boards and different communities, there is a constant interaction, especially here in Tacoma. That I can share is that we're in many different groups with the city that are supporting all our communities, and I think that's the big advantage as well. And I think we have an opportunity here as employees, as students, that if we have concerns to go to public meetings with the city. But the university is very proactive and leaning in how can we navigate this and how are those resources. And also if there is concerns that are brought up, having those opportunities to meet with those officials.
Yeah, definitely. I think from the student government perspective, our city liaison has been doing a lot of good work connecting the student government with the city and trying to getting our voices heard, especially with concerns among the community about just basic concerns like basic needs, housing injustice, and just protecting the community as a whole. And from the university perspective as a student, I can say that it's I don't know if people have noticed, there on certain offices there are signs that say private office. I think those are helpful in the sense that they establish the office as private, establishes the room as private. And from as far as what I can say is that there are faculty, staff, and students that are working together to find a way to make the university a safer place. And there are steps being taken to continue promoting that security and continue establishing protocols, finding ways to listen, finding ways to act upon the information that we hear. There are great protocols currently in place that I'm sure you can speak more on.
Yeah. And just to add to that, when we put those protocols together, putting them on websites, sending out reminders, especially in these very stressful times, what those resources are. We did put out time, place, and manner, and this all happened last year, and we've been updating that of what is a private space versus a public space. And so just to be clear, our private spaces are our classrooms, our offices, and laboratories. Those are not open to the public unless we have a public event, like let's say in one of our other buildings, and it's clearly marked, and then the doors are open. Public spaces on campus, those are usually public thoroughfares, like the parking lots, people traveling through the open stair areas, or in areas where you expect people to come in, like lobbies. So if someone was going to the Husky store or going into the library on the first floor to just go on a community computer, those are those expectations. But beyond that point, and I think that's the importance, is that we've been educating employees, both faculty, staff, student workers, on understanding what those areas are so they can identify them.
And I do think a specific thing, Senate Bill 5906, the SAFE Act, is by Senator Johansson, which recently just passed the Senate and is now waiting to pass the House. But I think it does, if I'm not mistaken, it says in the language that it would have the university place signages establishing private and non-private spaces so that the students are aware, and that whatever law enforcement that occurs, they are aware of spaces that are private, spaces that they can access, and spaces that are not accessible to the public or law enforcement without a legal court order.
Speaking on the SAFE Act in particular, I have a whole section just on this. It would essentially force federal immigration agents to get court approval, and by court approval, it means a judicial warrant before entering schools and healthcare facilities. It's an extension of the Keep Washington Working Act from 2019. The original law did not include things like daycares, public or non-public hospitals, or nursing homes. This bill would extend that protection. The reason I bring up judicial warrants is because ICE has been known to use administrative warrants to get into places where they would otherwise not be granted access, because most people, when presented with a warrant, aren't educated enough to know the difference between the two. Because up until now, why would you have to know why they look different? Kind of transitioning back to some of the protests that have been going on. Something that's been honestly super inspiring for me to watch personally is the student walkouts that have been occurring in the high schools and the middle schools around the area, both in like Tacoma and Pierce County as a whole. I know Stadium High School did one a week or two ago. There's been other schools in Tacoma that have done it. Kopachuk Middle School in Peninsula School District has participated in one, I believe, as of today. One of my friends was telling me about it, and I think it is so essential for all of these young people to really get invested in advocating for our community. So it's been honestly really inspiring to see and to hear about. From what I do know, there haven't been any instances of ICE on Tacoma Public School campuses yet, but there have been instances of ICE activity at preschools. There was one in Issaquah where there was an incident where a woman was detained using excessive force, and then there was another incident in the Tri-Cities. Have there been any reports of specifically ICE activity near our campus?
So I would say there was more rumor, and when it came to near campus, it's very far from campus. And I think that's an opportunity to share with folks about our geography, that where we are as a campus, if something's happening off of very far away, like 84th and Hosmer, that's very far from the campus. But if you're driving, I can understand that perspective. So if anyone comes and they say they want to report it and they have videos, our team will listen we, as part of our protocols of where did this happen, because sometimes there may be events where it could be a university-sponsored event and they're off-site. So where exactly did it happen? Time? Did you witness it, or are you passing this information along? And I think that's part of being informed, being prepared, and being empowered, right? It's knowing, well, if you become aware of something, getting the facts, because it's very important not to create fear within a community of sharing that I think it was near campus. So anytime it's shared with us, it could be, we're not sure when it happened, but folks are just creating times. So we're just trying to check, okay, where did that happen? When did you hear this? Well, I saw it on Reddit. Or someone said a statement, because that's happened up at the UW, where someone's information was taken out of context, and we could have parents asking, I heard there's going to be a ICE activity in Tacoma. We're immediately trying to figure out, okay, where's the source? Where is this coming from? And those type of cases we have checked out, and there hasn't been any activity here. But we're also very sensitive to where we are in downtown Tacoma, where there's a lot of retail. If someone should see something, if they believe someone is surveilling, whether they're in a uniform or not, is calling our campus safety department, activating us and letting us know. So our team, which is through the university protocols, or if you're at UWPD or you're at Harborview, those protocols are pretty straightforward, is that we're just going to try to figure out who are they, what is their purpose here. And it's always good to give us a call. And I think for folks to know how to call us at 253-692-4416, or push any of the blue emergency phones, because let's say you just don't have your cell phone, you want to get somewhere safe, and report that. And I think that's the part of we are not law enforcement, but it is our duty to go and check. We also want to make sure that someone is being present, right? And it is not the expectation of that student or the other staff or faculty to anyway put themselves there of sharing any information. It's just more of, hey, this is our protocols. We have to call campus safety. Please wait out here in the lobby, in this public area. And then we're responding to try to get agents' names, figure out where they are. Are they here with a judicial warrant? Are they not here with a judicial warrant? Are they bullying and trying to get past and using intimidation?
And I think to add on to the point of the blue phones, before I forget, there are cameras on those phones, and if I'm not mistaken, they record when you press the button, or are they always recording? Or
so those cameras are always recording. You don't have to press the phone buttons. Okay. When you do press the blue emergency phones, we actually have them programmed to tell us where the locations are, and those cameras are out in private areas, and they've been very helpful when folks are having a medical emergency or someone's lost, because we've had that too, where lost children have pressed it and they're trying to figure it out, or they're just excited because it's at their height. So we call those our husky pups. Please don't do that. But also we very specifically put those phones there and those cameras so that it is recording and it's on specific records management, and that's enterprise-wide. But when it comes to if was something seen there, if there were concerns, such as a car driving around really slow, going through the lots, give us a call.
Because I was going to say now, in this specific context and instance in time, documentation is very important. Yes. So I would say that just the students knowing that there is a form of documentation happening around that specific area, they know that they're at least seen, and they know that if anything happens, someone's going to know. So there's that confidence around that kind of helps. And
that brings me back to being informed and being prepared. It's having a preparedness plan. It's having situational awareness that you can apply to anything when you're out and about. And you start getting that feeling of, hey, I think someone's following me, or I think something's about to happen. I'm just getting that strange feeling. Knowing how to use your husky cards, how to get into the buildings safely, and then how to activate us as well. And I think that's part of the preparedness side. So students feel that they have the power of saying, you know what, I have a plan in place to get somewhere, and I know who to call to help me.
Definitely. Because I think the difficulty in having specific protocols that you want everyone to follow is not going to work, because everyone's situation is different. Absolutely. You have citizens, you have non-citizens, you have legal residents, you have people with mixed status, and it's just difficult to expect them to follow a single line of protocol. And I think what's important on your point of preparedness is we give them the option so they know what to do and they can choose what options work best for them.
Yeah, and I think from a resource piece of where can folks go to get trainings, a lot of our nonprofit 501s have their Know Your Rights card. And depending with your status, if you're able to say, know your rights, that's the most important thing. The Constitution, it protects all of us, regardless of our status and rights. And knowing that, of your right to remain silent, of your right to say, I want to speak to a lawyer, right? Of not providing your documents. If you're pulled over somewhere, who are you? Are you police or are you immigration? It's different. And have a plan with your family. Memorize a phone number if you had to call. If you do have paperwork or you've had a past crime and it's been a long time, knowing to have a plan in place. So if you care for children, if you care for a loved one, you have all that written down, but you don't carry it with you. You have it in a safe space for those family members, for those friends to know. And also if you're going somewhere and you actually have a check-in time. Yeah. And so folks know, hey, something has happened. And I think that's where we can help as far as how do you think of it from a preparedness side of it. So you have a plan, and it's just like a protocol. These are guidance, right? Having a Know Your Rights card. Our Center of Equity Inclusion did trainings, and they just finished the last one in February 5th, where we had scenario based. And so we're looking to bring that back up during the spring quarter, and we'll have members of campus safety there so we can help them talk about some specific scenarios. So what helps in preparedness is when you're talking about something, your body starts to believe it. And literally when the emergency happens or the incident happens, it's amazing that we'll click in and say, wait a minute, I have a plan and I can pivot from here. And I think that's the part of empowering through preparedness and being informed of, well, what are my options, like you were saying earlier, and where based on my status, I might not feel comfortable, but I might feel comfortable to talk to you about it and say, would you be my voice? Would you share this for me? Because I don't want anyone to know about my situation. It is extremely private, and having someone to talk to without judgment. Yeah. And I think that's what's really important, where folks want to be social justice warriors. And I'm completely there with that, but also being mindful with the individual of what do you need instead of someone telling you what you have to do. Yeah. Right. I think that's when we connect as humans.
Definitely. I think there needs to be the students. In my observations and the things that I have heard is that they don't know. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to believe. There's a lot of information going around, but none of those are verified or confirmed. But to that point as well, I think there are the reason why a lot of these rumors are coming up, why a lot of these reports of sightings coming up, even though they're unverified, is because some people prefer knowing as like a worst case scenario, as even if it's not true, I can get myself somewhere safe, hide until things die down. And I think it's a sad thing to see that people are jumping to worst case scenarios, because let's face it, we are somewhat in a worst case scenario right now. Yeah. And to the point of the protest earlier, I'm just now thinking it's inspiring to see all these young kids. I remember watching a video and being like, the kids are all right. They're good. Yeah. But it's also sad to see that they have to be doing these things, that they feel the need to be out there fighting as young as they are. Because when I was a kid, middle school, I wasn't out on the streets fighting for my friends and my family's rights. I was playing in the dirt. I was eating dirt and so on and so forth.
Well, that's a wonderful childhood. I was out, so the opposite. I was fighting and standing up and going to protest and as a kid for rights and also our status as a family, being from Puerto Rico and being told you don't belong and stuff. So had that coming from New York. And so seeing the young people, yes. And for our students as well, we had created a website so folks can plan when they are planning a rally or a protest or demonstration, some simple things of taking care of yourself. bringing layers of clothes. We're in the Northwest. Bringing water and food. Having a contact plan and not going off to strangers. Even when we have, yesterday was the School of the Arts students that were here, and that's a mix of 15-year-olds to 18-year-olds. And we just want to make sure that they're able to navigate. So not walking into the middle of traffic to strange cars, because some of them were, and we're just like, oh my gosh, you don't know who's in that car. So it's just about safely doing it so they're taking care of themselves so they can go home, but also expressing themselves. And when you're going to a different city or a different state, knowing what the rules of engagement are and knowing how to navigate that and having a plan so folks are taking care of themselves. I think this is really important, and knowing how to safely document and how to keep that distance. So you are capturing it, but then also have a way to load that up. And if your phone is taken, how to have those hard numbers memorized so someone knows to call you, right? And if you don't show up at home at 6 o'clock and you were supposed to be home at dinner at 6 o'clock, then they know, okay, something's up. Or even as we talked about having in the preparedness, having a code word. So if I was able to call and call, I have a specific word that I can put in a phrase and they know something's wrong. As opposed to, they never came home, I'm trying to figure this out.
Definitely. And on the note of preparedness as well, what I've been telling a lot of my friends in my community is having that document of all your information. Your name, your legal name, your birth date, your, if you are a non-resident immigrant, your country of origin, your A number, all the information that they would need to locate you in case, worst case scenario, you get abducted. Having that in some sort of envelope, sealed, that worst comes to worst, they can tear it open and find you when they need to, because ICE has a database of where they transport people. Because even though, if for example you get detained in Tacoma, that doesn't mean you'll be sent to the Tacoma Processing Center.
Right.
Sometimes you'll be sent to a different one in a different state and so on. And so it's very important that your people know where you are, because ICE isn't going to mail people your addresses or where you are. Your community, your family, your friends need to find you, and they need to know how.
Yeah, and as it's happened in other cities too and states, is other citizens or tribes have been also detained, where folks are not respecting, or you're showing your residence card, and they're saying it's fake, your real ID. So it is having pictures of it, having it in. I always say use a Ziploc bag because that way it's waterproof. You can see where it is. Have that and have that plan, and then also take photo pictures of it so you have it on a phone. So if there is damage, you're not able to get to it. It's easy for someone to pull up, especially if they're on the phone, and knowing what those numbers are too, and how do you find people? Because there is a database. There is also a phone number to call. How are you activating lawyers if that happened? You have someone on call, and that family member or that friend can call for you, and we can start getting information out there to try to slow that process up, to get you access to your medication, because we don't know where you are, right? And as we've heard the most extreme stories in extreme times, how are we really being prepared?
Yeah, I mean, there were stories going around, I want to say a couple months ago, about members of a Native American tribe, and I cannot remember the state, being detained, and they were being detained in a place that was historically essentially used as a concentration camp for that same tribe. So the generational trauma from the first incident is just repeating itself into the next, and it's just like, this is something that's going to have lasting effects, regardless of what we see the short-term impacts being now. Kind of going to something that our state has been doing, we talked about the SAFE Act already. There's also Senate Bill 5855, introduced by Senator Javier Valdez of the 46th District, which is North Seattle. That is the bill that would prohibit most law enforcement officers, including federal agents, from wearing face coverings while performing their duties, and would require officers to be clearly identifiable. I believe this bill has gone through a few different, like, adaptations as it's been making its way through the different committees in the Senate. There's been exceptions made for, like, officers that might be, like, undercover, tactical units, and, like, health hazards. Do we think that legislation like this is enough? Is there ways it could be stronger, do we think? I also bring this up because a similar bill was passed in California, and it's already been challenged by the Department of Justice. So how do we pass a bill that doesn't immediately get challenged by the Department of Justice, where they strike it down and say, actually, no, you can't do that?
So I think we're going through our process with Senate bills or House bills. They're going to be challenged in the courts. Yeah. And that is part of our court system. And that's where doing that research of those bills, of going through those drafts, of getting to that part of the challenge in the court, it goes to the different hierarchies, and it can be appealed to get those affirmed. And that's where the change actually happens, is within the laws, within case laws. And if we could do that intervention before more harm is created, but also balancing expectations, that we need to go through that process. So a way for folks that are voting is to talk to their senators, is to talk to their congressmen, phone them, tell them.
Show up to their office.
Well, if you show up to their office, I would say do that in a way that's going to be constructive, right? And that you want to help give them that information. Say your constituents are saying that this is a need. It's not just a want. And this is what we're seeing. So that Patty Murray, she could be there and she could share and be very forward with what she's hearing from her constituents. And this goes throughout all the states. And that is the opportunity within a legal system to make that change effective. So between doing that, protesting, being live in the streets, making phone calls, sharing things like this on a podcast to create spaces of information, I think that's where those strong opportunities are.
Absolutely. I think especially in times like these, everybody needs to get engaged. Everyone needs to find a form of advocacy that they're comfortable with, because I understand not everyone has the privilege nor the comfort to be out on the streets advocating, nor does everyone have the privilege of going to the Hill almost every single day to fight for our rights and fight for legislation that is currently moving through the system, albeit slowly. But we need to find a place how we can serve our community best. And I think there is a moral call today to find ways, even if, however small that is, even if it's just talking to a friend, even if it's letting them know or what their rights are, or educating yourself on what your rights are. I think it's very important that we take our place in today's time, find our place and put ourselves there. This is unfortunately a bad time. And when bad times happen, we all need to come together to make it better.
More like small scale things that I feel like people don't mention enough, because everyone is just like, oh, we all need to be out protesting. And like you said, not everyone has the privilege or the ability to do that. But some like small scale things people can do is, I mean, even advocating on social media, supporting immigrant owned businesses, that's a big one. And trying to purposefully not buy from businesses that support what's going on. Like, boycotting doesn't work for everyone, but sometimes you can find real, like, small alternatives where you can be like, oh, well, this company supports this, but this smaller one doesn't, and maybe it's actually comparable in price. So even those small changes you can make, I feel like, are really important.
Yeah, and I think that's those ways of using the power of the purse. And saying, I have a way of protesting because I'm not going to go to this organization because they don't meet with my values. And sometimes that's hard too, because we know we have food deserts. We know socioeconomically if that's the only place in town. So how are we using some of our benefits as University of Washington? We have our Husky cards. We can use that as free transportation on the transit system. If I don't want to go to those areas, so that's a way economically I might be able to save, but not many students know that. Right? And so, where would I get that information? And so I think that's a part of critical thinking of reflecting back. The other part is for students to also be taking care of themselves, knowing who you can talk to. It's because it's very heavy, and so utilizing your resources like the psychology and wellness center, using the telehealth. If I'm employed somewhere and I have my health benefits, it's talking to someone, because you're still trying to process and going to school, taking care of your family, paying your bills, and also trying to be successful. And all of this is happening in that same ethos. How are you really navigating from it in this journey? And so having strong leaders as yourself, of having, to talk to, right? The university also has government relation coordinators like we have here that are going down and that are at the Hill, right? And we are looking at legislature and if it is passed, how does that impact our processes, right? Because we have to follow those federal, state, and local city. And so how does that impact us as a community? And I think that's the great story here, and the community that we have that care, that want to hear. So I think that's all part of our interconnection here. But that's what really would like to kind of as a takeaway is, how can folks support each other? How can they do their own way of saying, no, I don't agree with this, and this is what I can do within my control. But still, I have to navigate life.
So in terms of things the university as a whole has kind of been doing that I'm at least aware of, there was an announcement from the Office of the Provost in 2025, kind of detailing some of what was going on just with, Trump was just inaugurated. There was already that fear kind of there with immigration. Something that stuck out to me is that they stated that UW is not legally permitted to prevent federal immigration officials from coming into the public spaces of a UW campus or facility, which I understand why they're not, but it still stuck out to me. I'm just like, oh, that's kind of horrifying to think about if they do just show up. But it also provided a protocol for dealing with federal law enforcement agents. Something else that is very interesting and recent is that a student organization at UW Seattle, the Students for Democratic Society, which started in 1960-ish, I want to say, in response to the Vietnam War, they announced a ICE reporting hotline that they are running, which I think is pretty cool. What are some resources you think that UW-Tacoma has that I haven't touched on?
Yeah, so for UW-Tacoma, the Center of Equity and Inclusion has had real scenarios for students, faculty, and staff to attend, and we just did that this winter quarter. It'll be coming back up in the spring. So it's a great way to practice protocols, to talk about some real-life situations if something happens on campus, and it's very student-focused. So I think that's really one great resource. The other ones are our Psychology and Wellness Center, where students can talk in a very private, confidential space about coping in these very stressful times, helping with planning, safety planning, as well as the Washington Employee EAP, which if students are employees, they can go there too, getting advice. And also through the UW system, we also have our legal office that all students can talk about different situations and plannings. You get a 40-minute free consultation, and that's an initiative that UW-Tacoma helped lead a few years ago so that it becomes a tri-campus, because originally it was just for Bothell and Seattle students. And so it's like, okay, let's have Tacoma as part of that family. Another resource that we do have for students is campus safety. We are here 24/7, and we want to be a bridge. We're approachable, and if there's a concern, if somebody wants to make a phone call and they just aren't sure of what's happening, they can definitely speak with us. And I think that's one of the great things that we have here at Tacoma, is that you have people that are here to support. And we'll be continuing these conversations throughout the quarter. There have been recent updates, so we do have a website here at UW-Tacoma through the Center of Equity Inclusion and Student Affairs, and it kind of talks about Know Your Rights. Also, time, place, and manner. So to kind of explain in more details about what public spaces are, what are private spaces, and so very specific language, very easy to navigate. And I think just as part of additional is having ASWT here to also be that voice for students.
I was just going to add, ASUWT or student government needs to know what you folks are thinking, what people are thinking, how we're all feeling, what we think the university should be doing, because ASUWT has the ability to make change on campus, whether how big or how small that is. There is that ability to make change, but the student government cannot function without the students' opinions, because we are representative of what the student body is thinking. We are representative of what they want to do. So if we don't have the information to act on your opinion, we can't do anything as much as we would want. So my ask to the folks who are watching this podcast and listening to the podcast is to email, text, or talk to your senator or any of the directors that we have on ASUWT or me. And if you want to reach me, my email, aswtco@uw.edu. Send me any and all information you want to send me regarding anything that you want to see improved on campus. I can't make any promises that will make that happen, but your voice will be heard, and we will be advocating for you. We will be your voice, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And on that note as well, I have been listening to some students and some of their opinions, and I guess I would just like to ask the folks in this room if they know, or just in general ask is, many students feel like having a notification system on campus where if there is verified presence of ICE on campus or presence of enforcement on campus, is there a way that students can know or can be made aware so that those who need the information can have it and act accordingly?
I think it's a really important question. And what I can share is there's a lot of conversations happening from a tri-campus level of what we can use the UW alert system for, because there's specific guidelines under federal rules, under the Clery Act of notifications, from timely warnings to emergency notifications. So that's a conversation that is happening. So if that's what I can share.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
From a reporting standpoint, once again, things would obviously have to be verified. I do not want to put out anything that would be either potentially untrue or that could put other people in danger, but also, we have the capability to post things on our social media as long as we can verify it. So as long as it's verified information, that's something that we as reporters and journalists can also do to help support our community.
Just randomly, a nightmare that I've been having recently is whenever it started when I was seeing people posting ICE presence on different campuses or just anywhere in general, is that a student, for example, if it happens on UWT, it's just a random nightmare I've been having, is they see it happen on social media and they sense the danger and they duck and hide into an office. Mm-hmm. And when they do that, they don't know if it's safe to come out, so they just stay there and they're just hiding in the cold, the dark, and they don't know what to do after they start hiding, because I feel like for some students that's a reaction that they might have, is they know, ICE can't enter private spaces without a warrant. They jump into a private space and they can't leave out of fear. So it's just, I guess, having a way of them knowing for certain, especially verified information that we don't cause mayhem, I guess is the word.
A panic.
A panic, yeah.
And that's what I would say about being informed, being prepared, and being empowered, of having a plan, right? So if you did see got somewhere safe, using your phone, call campus safety and just say, I think I saw ICE agents outside. Mm-hmm. Campus safety can check that, and if you want us to call you back, we can call you back. So that could be an opportunity from that local level of that connection. Or don't call me back, I don't want to know, I just know that they're here. And that's where our team is here to go check and assess, investigate it, verify it, because that is a real fear, right? And I think students know that they're not alone. We're here to support, and feeling comfortable with that, because I've also heard where there was some conversations where students thought that we're the same as police and ICE, which my heart was just breaking to hear that. And I think that's the other part where we can partner more with, is creating those spaces for students to feel that they can talk. And again, if they don't want to come out themselves, they can talk through others and say, I think I saw someone this day. I left campus. So I think that's the part of, if you can leave campus, you see something, go somewhere safe, have that plan in place, but now who do I tell?
Yeah.
Right? Because then that's a part of empowerment. Right? I'm okay. I'm telling someone else so they can take an action and check it out for me and get back to me.
Definitely. And I think, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I think definitely on the conversation of a lot of students may see campus security as one and the same as the police or one and the same as ICE. I would say that there is definitely a lot of fear around that, and I think the bedrock of it is just a lack of trust and a lack of a connection and a true, like, a relationship, because I know that campus safety is there for our safety, and I know that campus safety is doing everything that they can do to promote safety and security on our campus, but it is a reality that a lot of our students don't trust anyone in uniform, anyone that might just lead ICE to them or this, that, and the other, and just, I feel like I don't know how we can assuage that fear, how we can help them trust campus security more.
So what I was thinking with my team, and I was kind of talking about, because there's some of us that are not in uniform. I'm not in a uniform. I'm just fairly fashionable. I have other teammates, as we have an emergency manager that's now working with ASWT to do a preparedness kind of tabling. We also have transportation services that's also under our umbrella as well. So I think maybe we should just kind of co-sponsor some community outreach events of come and meet the people that are here, right? Because our officers are very passionate about helping. They care about this place. We have folks that have been here for 25-something years, and we have folks that have been here a year. That is the amount of investment. And we've had some, but everything's very one-on-one with folks, and we would like to meet folks before they're in a crisis.
Yeah.
So if there's ways that we can be out of the box and think about that of engagement, so it's not only on the scary topics, right?
Definitely.
And I think that's an opportunity to help build that trust. And there's some that, because of trauma, that will change, right? Because we're coming in with that lens, and we have to acknowledge that. And that's like one of the reasons I don't wear a uniform, so I can be approachable, because I'm the little 5'4" lady. So, I'm like the little like teddy bear. So, okay, let's sit down and talk, but also listening. Right? What is happening? How are you navigating? Are you connecting with resources? Do you know what the resources are? Because I may be a student that's here after 4 o'clock. And I may be a student that comes on Saturdays. I might be a grad student, and I'm not being able to connect. So do I know how to connect with it 24/7? And then if students want to, in the past, we used to do things up at the Y.
Yeah.
And we just had kind of almost like speed dating, where we would bring in different people to kind of just talk with the students just in time, and just say, what are you thinking about? And at that time, it was the how folks are navigating through different neighborhoods and what those services look like. And we can work to kind of facilitate something like that. So it's small, it's intimate, it's not a giant big meeting in a hall, where you're just trying to navigate just the size of the crowd and how much time you actually get that one-on-one. So that could be an opportunity where we kind of put it out there, right? And looking at also platforms like this, a podcast, of raising that. How do we get viewers and folks that are listening to connect with the website? Campus Safety, we changed our whole front page, so it's a one-stop shop. So if you're just not sure, we have everything there on the front page. We have a really cool husky we call Fiona. So Fiona is my little preparedness puppy. And so you just click on that, so you actually know when we're having our events on campus, and we have tables. So even if somebody wants to just approach and say, I have a question. Sometimes we're helping students just navigate Canvas. So, and where their buildings are. That's usually the beginning of the quarter. So I think that's where we can help in keeping people informed, prepared, empowered, but also build relationships that are more than just individuals, but as a community.
Yeah, definitely on that note of community, an advantage we have as a campus here is just how small we are. I think what a lot of the the tour guides that on our campus, the student ambassadors we have, is they really like to highlight our small classrooms. And I, as someone who is also a student here, I appreciate the small classrooms because it allows for that community to come through. And just as a more general aspect outside of the classrooms, we're such a small, not a small, but we're a tight-knit enough university that it's easier for us to make community here. It's easier for us to build those connections, make our circles bigger. And I think that's going to be really helpful in times of crisis because we have that connection, we have that system in place that we trust, that the people, the institution, the groups that we can trust is something that we need today.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of what are those just-in-time interactions? What are part of that I don't flinch up when I see a campus safety officer driving by? I'm actually looking forward to that. Hey, I'm grateful someone's there and we're trying to help deter crime, being present, and that's having some positive effects. I think the other part of knowing how through our success, it really is through the reach outs and the connection. But when we do have a crisis here, we have, I would say, in campus safety and in other leadership, we have folks that are extremely responsive. And folks have a joke about me, if I never sleep, I don't. I take naps. And but when that phone rings, so for instance, if folks want to talk to me, we have our UWT safe at uw.edu. If they just want to send that email of just suggestions, if they're looking for their own events or they want us to come talk to their class, because this has been a topic, but how can we be there in those spaces that just in part of it, or even helping some students with some projects. We've done that too in the past. And a lot of it was just sharing of what we do, how we can work together and navigate. And I think that's all those parts of we're here because we care, especially in higher ed. It is a city within a city. And just because every 3 to 5 years the students are coming in and leaving, but we're here because we actually believe in UW-Tacoma. We believe in the spirit here of community, and what we do here matters. So even in these very stressful and sad times, knowing that you have people that care, genuinely care, and that is rare, and that's what Tacoma is.
And on that note, I think we're ready to wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you to our guests for making the time. And with that, bye.